Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch. We're back with the Budget Overland LR4. And today, we got some Harbor Freight going on. That is right, today, it's hidden winch time. You may remember this Amazon X-Bull Winch from when we tried to hang the Risco Disco from a tree. Well, that guy is going on the front of the LR4 with the help of this Harbor Freight winch plate. That was loud. And you're gonna be shocked at how little modifications this actually needs to get on the Land Rover. We even got a free bucket. What a deal. So first things first, bumper needs to come off. Well, it's already off, but let's show you that real quick. All right, so the bumper cover is off. We have the bumper bar off, and that is gonna be the basis of our mounting point for the winch tray. This is gonna be like a Budget Terrafrima, which is already a Budget company, but a Budget Terrafrima hidden winch. Gonna be along the same lines, a little bit different look. So what we're gonna start off with is 2 plates. Gonna be out of 1/4-inch steel, 1 for each side. We're gonna utilize the 4 original holes here, and then also going to drill 2 additional holes on the bottom of each side, and we'll nut and bolt there. So we use factory hardware there, and then 2 additional bolts. So right here is our factory bumper bar. As you can see, it is roughly centered on the mounting holes. And ideally we want our fair lead, this guy right there, to end up centered as well. So aesthetically our fair lead would end up right in the center of the bumper there, just so it looks all nice and like it belongs. So to do that, we need to get this hole as close to center as possible. That means this guy, our little clutch engagement lever, is also gonna have to be modified, which is just fine. That unscrews and we'll be able to do a bar, something we can access through the little opening in the bumper. So all we'll do there is we'll just chop this guy flush and put like a straight 1/4-inch bar off that. That'll work just fine, and we'll have clearance there. So looking like we'll probably be somewhere in this vicinity for height. So you're really not gonna believe how easy this is gonna be. Look at there, we got our bolt holes clear, drill some holes there, and we're just gonna weld this guy to the plates. We'll have to cut this around some AC components here, and then we're probably gonna just 45 this so we don't have to trim as much of the bumper. And then after it's all welded together, we will do some gussets as well. I mean, for 1/10 of the price, I think this is gonna be pretty nice little setup. So let's get some plates cut. So we got our plates made up and bolted on. Should work out pretty well. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna roll the winch up roughly in place, and that way we can mark out where we need to make our relief cut for the AC condenser. We don't want to mess the AC up. I need to be comfortable. So we have it all measured out and lined up. You see we sliced the corners off just to make it a little more streamlined. It's gonna sit in there pretty nice. Should tuck well behind the bumper. You're gonna see a little bit of it in this opening there, and that is where the rod will come out, but it should center up nicely right there with the fair lead and exit there, which is what we want. That's gonna leave us with the control box, which is probably gonna go somewhere up behind the grill. Obviously that'll be flipped upside down so we can get the wiring onto the winch itself. Also, with losing the bumper bar, we're gonna have to come up with something to hold the washer reservoir and the valve for the air suspension on this side. that should be pretty easy. We'll do some strap steel off the side here, I believe. So made up a couple small gussets. We'll go top and bottom on this guy just to add a little structure to it. We don't need this thing going limp on us when we start yanking. So we have the bracket drying in the old paint booth right now. Paint booth. But what we're gonna work on now is mounting the control box and getting the wiring in place. This will go to the battery. Then we're gonna tuck this guy behind the grill. Something like that, and through the holes in the grill right in that area we'll be able to access the control plug there. And this one also has a wireless controller, so most of the time we won't need to do that, but just in case, we'll do that. In the future we may hardwire a switch and put it somewhere in here. So what we did is we moved our horn bracket over, so these two holes were right there centered up, and we moved it over and we're just using one. So now what we need to do is take off our brackets and fabricate something up to hang it. So we cut the ears off the factory brackets. We're gonna run some 2-inch strap across the back and it'll sit something like that, and then we'll bend something up off that 2-inch strap to go right about there, somewhere there. Should work out. So there's our little winch plate all made up. We got some mulch on there from being outside drying. I don't think that's too bad for about $55. We got $50 in the plate and about $5 in miscellaneous metal. We cannot complain about that at all. We got the winch right there. That guy's a little over 300 bucks. We got like under $400 into this whole deal. So less than just a Terrafrima hidden winch plate. We have the winch and the winch plate made up. Let's load the winch on. Get this guy in place so we can start cutting a bumper up. Hopefully not incorrectly. So here's our first peek at the winch in place there. We got our little supports over that hold the washer reservoir and our air suspension valve in place. This guy tucks in very nicely, as you can see. It doesn't poke out much further than the grill. That's pretty impressive for an off-the-shelf Harbor Freight winch plate that is modified just a tiny bit. Each side has 6 bolts, 4 of them into the factory frame rail horn, and 2 of them drilled through with nuts on the backside, flanged for both. And here you can barely see, this worked out too slick. We have our horns moved over and the winch control right in there. And the control cable is accessible right through the opening in the grill. Right there, don't even have to pop the grill off to get to it, nice and hidden. With the grill off, you can see how it is laid out. It just mounts to the horn bracket. Wiring behind the radiator support, and the rest of it comes back up through behind the headlight. There's our little solar charge controller, but this will go up to the battery then from there. Now we just got to trim a bumper. We only get one shot at that, so we'll kind of chip away, I think. I don't feel like buying another LR4 bumper, as it turns out, so we'll try not to mess this up. That wouldn't be very budget friendly, having to do that in the Budget Overland Rover LR4, now would it? So we'll try to avoid that. So surprisingly, it actually slides on further than I would have thought without trimming anything. Looks like we're only about 3/4 of an inch away from being back into the factory location. So that just means we got a touch of trimming to do right here. Just on this black textured plastic. We'll have to trim that out. I'll look underneath here and see if anything on the back side of this has to be trimmed, but most of that should sit in the area where that bumper bar sat before. So here we got it all trimmed up. All we had to do is take about 1 inch out of this textured black plastic piece. No other trimming required. As you see, the bumper is lined up nicely. So now we just have to figure out how to locate our fair lead. So I think we're gonna take some measurements, tape some stuff up, and start smaller and work our way up and not mess it up. So here's how we're gonna do this. We got some tape. We're locating off the winch here. Then we got height of the bumper marked on the winch. So now we can just measure this height and our distance and lay that out over here, punch our holes in, set our fair lead on, cut our big hole. Bob's your uncle. But there it is, looking pretty slick right in there. Not even all that noticeable from away. If we didn't have this big old red tag on the hook, you wouldn't even know. Gonna have to get like a Factor 55 style thimble for the front, I think. And so if we have that instead of a hook, we can cinch it up and then we can put our cover over our toe point there and not have to use that for the hook. That'll look pretty slick. Outside of the red winch rope, you hardly even see it. Just went ahead and looked, and this winch now is like $355 on the old Amazon. We paid $55 with tax for the Harbor Freight winch plate. Got about another $5 or $10 in miscellaneous steel and some paint. So for a little over $400, about $415, you have a winch hidden in the bumper on an LR4. Going to be about the same process on an LR3 or Discovery 3, Discovery 4, depending on what part of the world you are in. This little X-Bull, don't expect it to be as reliable as, say, a Warn or something of the likes, but we are significantly cheaper. But like I said, this has been all done for just about the same price as what the Terrafrima hidden winch plate cost on its own. So winch and the winch plate for the price of the Terrafrima winch plate, that's pretty awesome. I would say budget. We achieved more budget on the Budget LR4. So we got our wireless winch controller turned on, and we got some in and some out. That's a pretty classy look for having a winch on an LR4, Discovery 4, whatever it is in your part of the world. Let's get this thing outside and yank it up the hill and see if we don't rip the bumper off. Hopefully not. So we got the Eco as our anchor point. We're gonna drag this guy up the hill, make sure nothing falls off, breaks, snaps, no catastrophic failures. We have our remote winch control with the little 109 keychain in honor of number 59 and getting that guy back on the road. We'll have those available soon. So we're gonna consider that a success. We have our $415 Amazon winch, Harbor Freight winch plate. This can be done by you with a little bit of welding skills, and you can yank your LR4 up a slight incline, anchored to an Eco Challenge, Discovery, all on your own. So I think this has been another great addition to the Budget LR4. Gonna be perfect for when we're out by ourselves and we don't have someone to save us, i.e. Ted. He usually has to rescue me when I get stuck, so maybe I can get out on my own now. Budget LR4 is starting to shape up nicely. We have our $415 winch setup, $65 lift kit installed, $160 solar panel to charge up that $400 rough country fridge with a couple $100 kitchen and a $1,250 tent, held on by about a $300 roof rack. Stick around to see what else we come up with for not a whole lot of money. Maybe some rock sliders. Maybe a bumper someday. Just one that looks nice with that.